In 1954, the Australian Women's Weekly told housewives a proper tea could be made with just 3 ingredients and a hot oven. Today, food writers call it Depression-era survival cooking. But here is the twist. Some of these meals fed a family of 8 for the price of half a pound of mince. Number 17 was banned from school tuck shops in the 1980s, yet every nan still made it on Sundays. And number 3? Food scientists say it creates a flavour combination supermarkets have spent millions trying to copy. 3 ingredients. That's it. No fancy techniques, no expensive cuts, no waste. Hit subscribe before we start, because what your nan knew might just save you a fortune at Woolies. Let's count down the 33 ingredient meals Aussie grandmas swore by, starting with number 30. Number 30. Bread and milk. Before cornflakes lined every Aussie pantry, your nan started cold winter mornings with a steaming bowl of bread and milk. She would tear yesterday's white loaf into chunks, drown it in hot full cream milk straight from the bottle on the doorstep, and stir in a heaped teaspoon of white sugar. That was breakfast. In 1953, a pint of milk cost 5 pence and a loaf of bread 7 pence, so a whole family could be fed for under a shilling. Children blew on their spoons, fathers ate it standing at the sink before heading to the dairy or the wharf, and the bowl was always scraped clean. It looked like nothing. It tasted like comfort. Number 29. The sugar sandwich. 2 slices of fluffy white bread, a thick scrape of butter, and a generous shake of white sugar pressed between. That was the after-school treat in every weatherboard house from Wagga to Wollongong. Your nan would butter the bread right to the crusts, sprinkle sunshine caster sugar until it caught the afternoon light through the kitchen window, then press the slices together so the sugar would not fall out. Children carried them out to the hills hoist and ate them barefoot on the back lawn. A bag of sugar cost 1 and 3 pence in 1956, and you could make 20 sandwiches from it. Dentists hate it. Every Aussie over 60 remembers it. Number 28, spaghetti on toast. When Heinz tinned spaghetti hit Australian shelves in the 1950s, it changed weeknight tea forever. Your nan would warm the bright orange tangle in a saucepan, while 2 slices of white bread crisped under the griller. Butter went on the toast first, hot and melting, then the spaghetti was tipped over the top in a steaming pile. Some nans grated a bit of tasty cheese on top if it was payday. A tin cost about 9 pence and fed 2 kids easily. The sauce soaked through the bread until the bottom slice went soft, and that soggy corner was the prize everyone fought over. Try ordering it in a cafe today. They will laugh. Number 27th, the banana sandwich. Bananas from up north flooded Sydney markets every summer, and your nan turned them into the cheapest lunch in the country. White bread, a thin scrape of butter, and a whole banana mashed with the back of a fork. The mash had to be slightly chunky, never smooth, so you got little soft pillows of fruit in every bite. Cavendish bananas cost about 8 pence a pound in 1958, and a single one made 2 thick sandwiches. Kids took them to school wrapped in greaseproof paper where they would go brown by recess. Nobody minded. Sweet, soft, filling, done. Number 26, Devon and sauce. Walk into any Aussie milk bar between 1955 and 1985, and you would find this on the menu board. 2 slices of soft white bread, 3 slices of pink Devon, and a bright red squiggle of Rossella tomato sauce. Your nan made a stack of them on Sunday night and wrapped them in waxed paper for school lunches. Devon cost about a shilling for a quarter pound at the corner butcher, and 1 stick fed the family all week. The sauce soaked into the bread, the Devon went slightly slippery, and by lunchtime it was the most beautiful sandwich a kid had ever opened. Number 25, cheese and pineapple jaffle. Before the toasted sandwich press existed, every Australian kitchen had a cast iron jaffle iron with long handles you held over the gas flame. Your nan would butter 2 slices of bread on the outside, fill them with a slice of tasty cheese and a ring of tinned golden circle pineapple. Then clamp the iron shut and toast it until the bread was scorched and the inside molten. The pineapple juice mixed with the melted cheese and created something halfway between sweet and savory that no fancy cafe toastie has ever matched. A tin of pineapple rings cost 1 and 6 in 1960. Open it up too soon and you would lose a layer of skin to the steam. Number 24. Cinnamon toast. When the kids came home from school freezing in winter, your nan reached for the cinnamon tin. White bread went under the griller until just golden. A thick scrape of butter melted on contact, then a heavy dusting of cinnamon sugar she kept pre-mixed in an old Vegemite jar. Back under the griller for 30 seconds, until the sugar caramelized and the butter bubbled at the edges. The smell hit the back door before you did. A jar of cinnamon cost about 9p and lasted a year. Modern parents give muesli bars. Your nan gave you sugar, butter and spice on hot bread. You know which one you would rather have. Number 23. Egg in a hole. Some called it hole in one, some called it bullseye, and in Queensland it was just an egg and toast. Your nan would tear a circle out of the middle of a slice of bread with the rim of a teacup, melt a knob of butter in the frying pan, drop the bread in, then crack an egg straight into the hole. The white spread out and set against the bread. The yolk stayed runny if she timed it right, and the little bread circle got fried alongside for dipping. 1 egg, 1 slice, a knob of butter, breakfast for about 3p in 1957. Kids thought it was magic. The jagged tear of the teacup was the secret. Even shape, no good. Number 22. The tomato sandwich. In summer, when the gross Lissa tomatoes from your Pop's veggie patch were splitting on the vine, your nan made the most Australian sandwich there is. Thick slices of soft white bread, butter spread right to the corners, and a fat slice of warm, sun-ripened tomato in the middle, with a heavy pinch of salt. The tomato bled red juice into the butter, the bread went pink and sloppy in the center, and you ate it leaning over the sink so it wouldn't drip on your shirt. Tomatoes cost about 4p a pound in 1959 if you didn't grow your own. Nothing in any restaurant in Australia today comes close. Number 21. French toast. Your nan called it AG bread, and it was the rescue mission for the heels of last week's loaf. 1 egg, a splash of milk, beaten with a fork in a shallow bowl. The stale bread went in, soaked for 30 seconds aside, then into the hot frying pan with butter until both sides were golden. Saturday mornings, the smell would drift through the fly screen door before you'd opened your eyes. Eggs were about 3 shillings a dozen in 1958, and 1 egg could turn 3 slices of dying bread into a meal. Wasting food in your nan's kitchen wasn't a sin. It was an impossibility. Number 20. The Savoy in a roll. Friday night at the football club, the local pool, or the surf club after a swim, there was always a copper of boiling water with red Savoys bobbing inside. Your nan would split a soft white finger roll, drop in a steaming salve straight from the pot, and squeeze a thick yellow line of hot mustard down the side. 3 ingredients, 2 minutes, eternal happiness. A salve cost 6p in 1962, the roll about 3p, and the mustard came in a giant tin from Keen's that lasted years. The skin of the savvy popped between your teeth and the mustard hit the back of your nose. Aussies called them red dogs. Your nan called them tea. Number 19. Mince on toast. When pay was thin on Thursday and Friday felt a long way off, your nan reached for half a pound of mince. She would brown it in dripping, with no oil, no garlic, no fancy carry-on, then stir in a generous slosh of Bisto gravy until it went thick and glossy. She tipped that over hot buttered toast and served it with a fork. A family of 5 was fed for less than 2 shillings. The trick was browning the mince hard so it caught on the bottom of the pan. That dark crust was the flavor. Modern recipes load mince with onions, herbs, tomato paste, the lot. Your nan knew none of that was needed when you were properly hungry. Number 18. Boiled choco with butter. Every backyard from Brisbane to Bega had a choco vine sprawling over the dunny or the back fence, throwing out more pale green pears than any one family could eat. Your nan boiled them whole until the skin slipped off, then split them in half, scooped out the flat seed, and dropped a knob of butter and a pinch of salt into the hollow. That was a side dish, a lunch, sometimes a whole meal. Chocos cost nothing because they grew like weeds and a single vine could feed 3 streets. The flesh tasted like soft pear crossed with marrow. Some nans pretended to make apple pie out of them. Most just buttered them. Free food, forgotten genius. Number 17. Fairy bread. Here is the one I told you about. Banned from school tuck shops across Victoria and New South Wales in the late 80s when the Healthy Lunches campaign hit. Every nan in Australia kept making it for birthdays anyway. White bread, soft butter, hundreds and thousands. The butter had to be soft enough to spread without tearing the bread, and you had to push the sprinkles down with the back of a spoon so they stuck. Crusts off, cut into triangles, piled high on a plastic plate next to the chocolate crackles. A jar of hundreds and thousands cost 9 pence in 1961. Children at every Aussie birthday party for 60 years went home with rainbow teeth and a sugar high. Pikelets. Saturday afternoon at your nan's house in any country town meant pikelets cooling on a wire rack under a tea towel. Self-raising flour, milk and 1 egg. That's it. She'd whisk the lot in a chipped Pyrex jug until smooth, then drop tablespoons onto a hot greased frying pan. When the bubbles popped on top, she'd flip them with a knife. 2 minutes a batch, 20 pikelets in 10 minutes. Self-raising flour cost 9 pence a pound in 1956. A jug of pikelet batter could quiet a house full of grandkids inside half an hour. The CWA cookbook had 30 variations. Your nan only ever needed one. Number 15. Lemonade scones. Don't let any modern baker tell you scones are difficult. Your nan made the best ones in the district with 3 ingredients and 0 fuss. 3 cups of self-raising flour, 1 cup of pure cream, and 1 cup of cold lemonade. Schweppes, never the no-name. Mixed with a butter knife, never with hands, then patted out on a floured board and cut with the rim of a glass. 12 minutes in a hot oven and they came out cloud-light, ready for jam and cream at the CWA stall. A bottle of lemonade cost 1 and 3 in 1964. The fizz did the work of butter and yeast. Modern bakers still can't believe it works. Number 14. Honey Joys. Every Aussie school fete cake stall, from 1965 onwards, had a tray of Honey Joys in pleated paper cases. Your nan melted butter and honey together in a saucepan until the smell filled the kitchen, then stirred in cornflakes until every flake was coated. She spooned the mixture into patty pans and baked them for 10 minutes until the edges crisped to gold. 3 ingredients: cornflakes, honey, butter, and you had 40 treats for under 2 shillings. The Kellogg's box recipe still exists, but most nans never read it. They learned by sight from their mum. The crack of biting through a cooled Honey Joy is the sound of an Australian childhood. Number 13. Chocolate crackles. Number 2 on every fete cake stall after Honey Joys, and arguably more iconic. Your nan melted a block of kofa, a white vegetable shortening that ruled Australian baking for 50 years, until liquid, then stirred it into a bowl of rice bubbles and Nestle drinking chocolate. She spooned the mixture into patty pans and set them in the fridge. 3 ingredients, no oven, done. A block of kofa cost about 1 and 6 in 1962, and 1 block made 60 crackles. Kids ate them outside in the heat of January, racing to finish before the kofa melted down their fingers. Modern recipes try to replace kofa with butter or coconut oil. They never set the same. Number 12. Coconut ice. Pink and white squares of pure sugar that lasted all winter in a tin on top of the fridge. Your nan mixed desiccated coconut with icing sugar and sweetened condensed milk until it formed a stiff white paste. Half went into a tin and was pressed flat. The other half had a few drops of cochineal stirred through until it turned cherry pink. Then it was pressed on top. It was sliced into squares once it set hard. 3 ingredients, no cooking, is kept for a month. A tin of Nestle condensed milk cost 9p in 1958, and 1 tin made enough coconut ice for the whole street. Children traded squares at school like currency. The pink layer was always the favourite. Number 11, Russian caramel. Some nans called it Russian fudge, some just called it caramel. 1 tin of sweetened condensed milk, half a cup of brown sugar, and a 1/4 pound of butter, all melted slowly together in a heavy saucepan. Stir constantly with a wooden spoon as it darkened from cream to gold to deep amber. That was the danger zone, 1 second too long, and it burned. Pour into a buttered tin and let it set. A tin of Nestle was 9p. Butter was about 3 shillings a pound. The smell of bubbling caramel filled the whole house. Try buying anything this good at Coles today. You cannot. Number 10, sago pudding. Frog's eyes, fish eyes, sago, whatever you called it. Your nan made it once a week through winter, and you ate it whether you liked it or not. Half a cup of sago pearls soaked overnight, then simmered in a quart of full cream milk with 2 tablespoons of sugar until the pearls turned from white dots to translucent jelly. Served warm with the dollop of jam in the center. Sago cost about 4p a packet in 1955. Children either loved it or hated it, with no in between. The texture was the dividing line. Either you liked tapioca beads sliding around your mouth, or you did not. Your nan did not ask for your opinion either way. When the heat hit 40 degrees in February and the milk turned faster than you could drink it, your nan made junket, a pint of warm milk, a tablespoon of sugar and 1 rennet tablet, crushed and stirred through, poured into individual glass dishes and left to set on the kitchen bench under a tea towel. Within 20 minutes, the whole thing turned into a wobbly white custard with no cooking and no fridge required. A box of Hansel's junket tablets cost 1 shilling in 1957 and lasted 6 months. We have yogurt now and forgot junket existed. Aussie nans never did. Number 8, mock cream. When fresh cream cost more than the cake itself, your nan whipped up mock cream with 3 pantry ingredients and a wooden spoon. Half a cup of softened butter, half a cup of icing sugar, and 3 tablespoons of cold milk, added 1 drop at a time. Beaten hard for 10 minutes until it turned pale, fluffy, and held a peak just like real cream. It went between 2 halves of a sponge cake at every birthday and CWA gathering from 1950 to 1980. The trick was patience. Adding the milk too fast made it split and you would have to start over. The result tasted richer than the real thing. We forgot how. Number 7, stewed apples and custard. Granny Smith's from the backyard tree, peeled and sliced into a saucepan with a couple of tablespoons of sugar and a splash of water, simmered until they collapsed into a fragrant golden mush. Spooned warm into bowls and drowned in yellow custard made from Foster Clark's custard powder. The kind of pudding that defined every winter Sunday in Australia. Apples were free if you had a tree, 2p a pound if you did not, and a tin of custard powder cost 9p and lasted a season. The smell of stewing apples and warm custard is the smell of every nan's kitchen in this country. Restaurant desserts cost $20 now. Hers cost 10 cents. Number 6, rice pudding. Half a cup of short grain rice, 4 cups of full cream milk, a 1/4 cup of sugar, tipped into a buttered Pyrex dish, dusted with nutmeg, and slow baked in a low oven for 2 hours while your nan did the ironing or hung the washing on the Hills hoist. The top set into a brown, wrinkled skin that some kids loved and some peeled off in disgust. Underneath, the rice was creamy, soft, and barely sweet. The kind of pudding that warmed you from the inside on a cold Tasmanian night. Rice cost 6 pence a pound in 1956. One dish fed the whole family, with leftovers cold for breakfast. Number 5. Golden syrup dumplings. Now this one is pure Aussie genius. Your nan would mix self-raising flour with butter rubbed through, then add a couple of tablespoons of golden syrup and a splash of milk to bring it together into soft balls. Dropped into a saucepan of boiling water with more golden syrup and butter, the dumplings swelled up and soaked the syrup into spongy gold pillows, served hot with cream or ice cream. A tin of Lyle's golden syrup cost 1 3 in 1959, and it lasted forever. The smell of caramelizing syrup brought every kid in the house to the kitchen door. No cake in any modern bakery beats it, not one. Number 4. Curried sausages. Every Aussie nan had her version. But the proper 3-ingredient classic went like this. Half a dozen thick beef snags from the butcher, browned and sliced into coins. A heaped tablespoon of Keen's curry powder stirred into the same pan with the sausage fat. A handful of sultanas added at the end, with enough water to make a thin gravy, served over white rice or mashed potato. Sausages were 1 6 a pound in 1960. Keen's curry powder cost 9 pence a tin, and a packet of sultanas was about 6 pence. The yellow gravy went orange where it touched the snag fat, and the sultanas swelled up sweet against the curry. Modern Aussies have forgotten how good this is. Number 3. Bubble and squeak. Here's where the science gets clever. Monday night, your nan tipped Sunday's leftover mashed potato and boiled cabbage into a hot frying pan, with a generous spoonful of beef dripping from the jar on top of the stove. She pressed it down flat and let it sit untouched for 10 minutes until the bottom turned into a dark golden crust. Then she flipped the whole thing and did it again. 3 ingredients, 1 pan, no waste. In 2014, food scientists confirmed this. The Maillard reaction between the starch in the spuds and the fat in the dripping creates over 600 new flavor compounds. The same reaction that makes a steak taste like a steak. Your nan did not know the chemistry. She just knew the brown bits were the best bits. We threw out our dripping jars in the 80s and replaced them with margarine, and bubble and squeak was never the same. Number 2, Vegemite on toast. There are 3 ingredients in this country more sacred than any religion: white bread, salted butter, and a thin scrape of Vegemite. Your nan toasted the bread until just past golden, slathered the butter while the bread was still hot enough to melt it, then dragged the knife across the Vegemite jar and spread it so thin you could almost see through it. Tourists who loaded on like jam are doing it wrong. Your nan knew. A jar of Vegemite cost 1 3 in 1958 and lasted 6 months. Generations of Aussie kids were sent off to school on this exact breakfast, and most of us still eat it. It's not just food, it's a passport. Number 1, damper. And of course, in first place, the dish that built this country. Your nan's damper recipe was passed down from her mum, who got it from a drover or a swaggy or a pop who had spent his youth on the long paddock. 3 cups of self-raising flour, a pinch of salt, and enough cold milk to bring it together into a soft, sticky dough. No yeast, no kneading, no waiting. Patted into a round on a floured tray and baked in a hot oven for 30 minutes until the crust turned deep brown and tapped hollow on the bottom. Some nans cooked it in the coals of a campfire wrapped in foil. Others did it in the wood stove of a country kitchen. Either way, the crust shattered when you tore it open and the inside came out warm and soft and ready for butter and golden syrup. Flour cost about 9 pence a pound in 1955. 1 damper fed 6. It was the bread of the bush, the bread of the shearing shed, the bread of every Aussie family that ever made do with what was in the pantry. 3 ingredients, a nation built on it. There is no more Australian food than damper, and there never will be. Here's my challenge. Pick one of these this week, just one. Make the lemonade scones for Sunday tea, the curried sausages on Tuesday night, or the damper in the camp oven next time you are up the bush. Then drop a comment and tell me which one your family swore by, because I reckon every Aussie watching this has a memory tied to at least 3 of them. These weren't just 3 ingredient meals. They were the way an entire country fed itself with almost nothing and made it taste like home.